Hey, Akawaha Boy rocks. Just finished filming a Thunder Egg Thursday where I mentioned those fans are not turned on. Northern edge of Hurricane Nicole going through. So I have a literal and figurative rainy day project for today. I have this motor that came in one of my lots of equipment that I bought. I've got a video up on one of them. That's not the one where I got this, but it was a similar kind of deal. I've tested, whoop. Okay, there we are. Okay, take two. This motor, it's been tested, it works, and it's not very high RPM. I don't really know what the RPM is. I don't know where it came from. Maybe it came from a clothes dryer, dishwasher, I don't know. But a decent little motor, just two little wires I can put a switch on. I don't know which one's positive, which one's negative, or if it's going to matter. I may just make the motor turn one way or the other, which for a low-speed carpet wheel doesn't matter. So I've got a friend, by now you may or may not have seen her little Lortone combo machine. If you haven't, you will. Has a 6-inch saw on it. She has very limited space for shop equipment. So 6-inch saw, she's going to be cutting, if she does the roll technique, maybe 3-4 inch thunder eggs. So I thought a little 6 or 7-inch carpet wheel using this motor would be a nice little compact thing for her to be able to polish, because the Lortone doesn't have an end plate on it to put a leather wheel or a leather pad or anything to polish. So I'm gonna find some scrap 2x4 and plywood around the shop and some drywall screws and whatever else I've got around, and get out the jigsaw and the circular saw, and I'm gonna throw together a carpet wheel. So here is my existing carpet wheel. I made this diameter 12 inches, so I'm going to come down to 6 inches, which will reduce a lot of these dimensions. Some things will not be reduced. I'm still going to be using this 1/2-inch rod, because I've got this 1/2-inch rod. I've got 2 of these bearings left. The base can be about 6 inches shorter. I've got a smaller motor. This is going to be 6 inches more narrow, since the height of the wheel is going to be so much less. I believe I'm going to be able to drop these down to using 2x4s, which is good because that's what I have. And I believe, although it's not on that motor, I believe it's a much lower RPM than 1725. So I'm going to use a much smaller pulley here for this drive pulley. So the same thickness, I'm going to do the same thickness, actually just cutting out of the same piece of wood that I used for this one. I thought it's worked really well, so why change anything? Probably same thickness for the base. And since on this one I did not make these pieces actually deep enough, I'll be coming out another probably 3/4 of an inch deeper on them. So time to find the materials and take some measurements and start cutting. Alright, the first thing to go together is going to be the little eye that the bearings mount on. So throw that together real quick. Alright, that's stuck together. I just put a scrap of plywood on here. This is going to stand it off of the box where the carpet wheel is. So this will be the top where the bearings are. Then on the bottom, I'm just going to screw a little scrap of plywood on. This will give me another 3/8 of elevation, and also once it's screwed on, it gives me a nice easy place to then attach it to the base without having to toenail through my 2x4s. Alright, here are my pieces for my box. Remember, this is all scrap plywood, so there's going to be a little bit of not square in here, and I rough cut out my wheel, cedar, about 7/8 inches thick. Cut that on my own sawmill out of a log. So that will be my wheel. I'll get my box roughed out, and then once I get it all together and know exactly where the hole goes, then I will take a hole saw and cut the hole in the back to pass the little rod through. Okay, here is the box roughed out. The wheel will sit roughly about here, I think. And that's going to sit like that. That's going to sit roughly like that. So I need to take some more measurements. I need to cut a base for it. I need to go in the house and get the bearings and start putting everything together. Alright, here are my major components. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a line drawn here because that's where I had intended to cut this base plate off. I have a problem though, because these mounting brackets that I have to work with on this rusty old thing extend out past the body of the motor and the pulley. So that means in order for the pulley to sit out here, I've got to leave this full width of this board on here. So it's a little bit of a bummer. I can't make it quite as compact as I had hoped, but I'm glad I set everything on here and looked at it before I started taking more off, because I'd have been in trouble. Alright, let's see where we are now. I have the carpet and the split taper on the wooden wheel here. Yes, that's kind of a rigged up way to do it, but it works. I've got the box for the switch mounted. The motor is still loose. That'll be probably the last thing I screw down. And I have a computer cord. So a little motor like this. These little computer cords work great. Clip that end off. Got the plug there. And so that'll get wired into the switch. And for switch, I'm going to use this switched reset. So I'm going to run the motor on the switch and then have the reset always hot, so that we can plug in the little combo Lortone saw cab wheel into this. So we only have one that needs to go into the wall. Alright, see you in a few minutes. Alright, all wired up now. I've got this plugged into a switch. So I've got power in my receptacle. I got power in my motor. I don't need the thing to run much slower than that, so if I go 2 to 1, 3 to 1 on the pulleys, that'll be just fine. So I think I'm ready to go in the house and get some bearings and get my wheel mounted on here. Then will be the belt and mounting the motor up. Okay, here's the wheel. Bearings are on. Motor's wired up, but you've already seen that. Now we're ready for pulley. It's really the pulley I would like to use on that because it's a fancy adjustable one, but it's the one the right size that I have. So I'm going to lock that rod in place, put the pulley on, use the Allen keys on everything, and put the belt on. Alright, belt, motor screwed down. Let's see if it runs. Well, it runs. I didn't get the carpet wheel quite as centered as I would like. Of course, these little things sticking out here add to that a little bit. But I think it's going to work for polishing little thunder eggs. Alright, hope you enjoyed seeing a little bit of step-by-step of me putting a carpet wheel together. Didn't show you all the cutting and drilling and screwing and all of those haphazard things, but got to see a little bit about the thought process, putting it together. In another video, hopefully you will see it polishing a rock. Alright, I will see you next time.